Hey, I'm Max and welcome to my Unity Basics video. In this video I'll show you how to add animation events. So let's get right into it. This is the sprite animation on my character. I'm also going to put a simple script on my character, and this script has a function that makes the player go down by the distance as parameter. Okay, so what is an animation event? It's a function that will be called on a specific frame of an animation. So let's say I want my character to dash when I put my second feet down. So let's say over here, I just have to click this little button here, add event, and it's going to add it on top here. And when I click it, you can see the animation event on top here, and I can select the function. There are only a few types of functions that can be used for this. In my case, I only have a float as parameter, so it's okay. So if I select it, now I can set the float as parameter. So let's say I set 1, and if I play my animation, you'll see that my character will move down. Every time it reaches that specific frame, it gets teleported one step down. Now if I go back on my player, I go on my animation event and I set the distance to 5. Now it's going to get teleported 5 steps down every time it reaches that frame. And as you can see, it's working. So this can be very useful. For example, if you're doing attacks and you want to have a sort of charge up on your attacks, and then the character punches or throws its sword or whatever, and you want to do that attack then. You don't want to do the attack at the beginning of the animation or at the end, but really kind of in the middle. And also it's useful if you have some form of combat where you can cancel your attacks, because if you cancel the animation and the animation doesn't reach the frame, then it's not going to trigger the event. Okay, so here I made a few functions to show you which type of parameters can be accepted in the animation events. So here I have a single float, a double float, an int, a string, a vector tree, and an animation event. If I go into my animation event, you'll see that the single float, int, string, and animation event shows up, but the double float and the vector tree don't. So the parameters that are accepted are single floats, single ints, single string, or animation events, which is a float, int, and string together. So for example, here if I select the animation event, you'll see float, int, string, and also an object. You can get the object with .object parameter, but I didn't do it here. So for example, here if I set the float to 5, the int to 2, and the string to hello, and I run this, you'll see that when the events get triggered, it will say in my console 5, 2, and hello. You can of course add multiple events into one animation. I just have to add another one, and on this one I can put float and then 4, and I think this one is still set to teleport me, so it should do that, and there you go. So this is all you really need to know to use animation events. They can be very useful to save yourself some timers in your code, because if you didn't have any animation event, you would have to start a timer at the same time you start your animation and then wait for a certain time so it matches with the frames, and it would be really hard for no reason. So use animation events, they're awesome. Check out my other tutorials if you want, and you can also subscribe. I would appreciate this a lot.